Hey there, welcome back. Today we're diving into something that might completely shift how you see the world around you. We're talking about a hidden force that most people never understand, even though it shapes every single interaction they have. It's the secret behind why some people seem to effortlessly attract respect, love, and success, while others struggle despite working twice as hard. The answer lies in understanding human nature at its deepest level. Have you ever noticed something strange? The harder you chase something, the faster it runs from you. When you desperately want someone's attention, they ignore you. When you beg for approval, people reject you. When you push aggressively towards success, it seems to slip further away. But then something incredible happens. The moment you stop chasing, everything shifts. That person suddenly texts you. The opportunity appears out of nowhere. People start respecting you without you demanding it. Life somehow falls into place. What causes this strange phenomenon? It happens because human psychology doesn't work in straight lines. People are complex creatures. What they say they want and what actually attracts them are often completely different things. The universe tends to reward those who demonstrate self-worth, not those who beg for scraps. This invisible force working beneath the surface is what we call understanding human nature at its core. Most folks never grasp this concept. They believe that success requires constant pushing, endless effort, and never backing down. But the deeper truth reveals something counterintuitive. Sometimes the smartest move forward involves taking a step backward. Sometimes winning means letting go of what you're clutching. Sometimes real strength looks like complete indifference. Today you're going to discover 11 principles that will transform how you understand both others and yourself. These aren't tricks or manipulation tactics. They're insights into how human minds actually work. Once you understand them, you'll navigate relationships, careers, and social situations with newfound clarity and power. These principles are straightforward, but their impact can be life-altering when you actually practice them daily. Stick around until the end because the final principle might revolutionize how you handle every relationship moving forward. Let's jump in. First principle. The less you need from others, the more magnetic you become. Desperation is like poison in any relationship, whether romantic, professional, or casual. When others sense that you desperately need their approval, attention, presence, or validation, something shifts in the dynamic. They unconsciously feel superior to you. This isn't about them being cruel, it's simply how human minds are wired. Neediness creates an imbalance. The person who needs less naturally gains influence, while the one who needs more gradually loses power without even realizing it's happening. When you signal that your happiness depends entirely on another person, they instinctively withdraw. They give less while you try harder. They respond slower while you reach out more. The relationship becomes lopsided, and your energy starts feeling heavy rather than attractive. Think about your own experiences. When someone calls you repeatedly every single day, you feel suffocated. But when they suddenly stop calling, you feel curious. When someone constantly texts you, you stop valuing those messages. But when they go quiet, you wonder what happened. This shift isn't about being mean. It's about how humans naturally value things that feel scarce. We appreciate what's limited. We ignore what's always available. When your time and attention come too easily, others don't feel motivated to put in effort. They don't recognize your value because they've never had to earn it. This dynamic plays out everywhere. In romance, friendship, family dynamics, workplace relationships, and social media interactions. When you're always available, always responding instantly, always trying desperately, people get too comfortable. They stop trying to impress you. They stop appreciating what you bring. But the instant you pull back and show that your life has meaning beyond any one person, their attitude transforms. They notice you again. They reconsider their behavior. They treat you with genuine respect because you finally respected yourself first. This doesn't mean becoming cold, cruel, or distant. It simply means not depending on anyone else for your emotional stability. Build a life where you are your own source of confidence, peace, and happiness. When you don't need people, you connect from a place of strength instead of fear. You speak with clarity instead of desperation. You love openly but not blindly. You give generously but not excessively. You care deeply but don't cling desperately. The mindset becomes clear. I enjoy your company but don't need it to survive. I value you but don't depend on you for my worth. I'm present but not desperate. Once you embody this truth, people naturally value you more. They fear losing access to you. They respect your presence. They work harder to remain part of your world, because the less you need from the outside, the more powerful, confident, and attractive you naturally become. Second principle: silence carries more weight than 1,000 words. Most people talk far more than necessary. They explain every tiny detail of their lives. They defend every single decision. They justify every emotion or mistake, even when nobody asked for an explanation. They talk because they fear judgment, misunderstanding, or losing control of how others perceive them. But here's what they don't understand. Too many words dilute your power. Silence, on the other hand, amplifies it. Silence creates mystery that words cannot create. Silence makes people wonder about you, think about you, and pay much closer attention to everything you do. When you speak less, your presence grows stronger. You become someone others study carefully, not someone they dismiss easily. Consider any argument you've witnessed. When two people scream at each other, both lose their power. Emotions take control. Words become messy and meaningless. But the moment one person chooses silence, everything changes. The energy completely shifts. The quiet person becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability always creates psychological power. Silence forces the other person to slow down, reflect, and even question themselves. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you're planning, why you're not reacting as expected. This creates a mental advantage that talking can never achieve. Silence becomes especially powerful when someone attempts to manipulate or disrespect you. When they expect you to explode and you remain calm, they lose their grip. When they try provoking you and you stay quiet, confusion sets in. Silence disrupts patterns. It ends arguments before they escalate. It teaches people that they cannot emotionally control you. It demonstrates that you don't react impulsively. You respond thoughtfully, and only when truly necessary. This makes others much more careful with their words and actions around you. Silence also makes your actual words more valuable. When you speak rarely, people listen more intently. When you choose words with intention instead of emotion, people take you seriously. They respect what you say, because you don't waste words carelessly. You're not someone who talks just to fill awkward silence. You speak because you have something meaningful to say. That makes every sentence more impactful. But silence isn't just a communication strategy. It's also protection for your inner peace. You don't need to respond to every rumor, argument, insult, or opinion thrown your way. You don't have to participate in every discussion or defend yourself constantly. Sometimes the strongest response is simply no response at all. Silence keeps you centered and peaceful, while others exhaust themselves with meaningless noise. Remember this truth: noise usually comes from insecurity, while silence comes from confidence. Noise desperately demands attention, while silence naturally earns it. You don't need to shout to be heard. You only need to be someone whose silence carries weight. That's genuine power. Third principle: what you refuse to tolerate defines your character. Everyone talks endlessly about dreams, goals, and what they want to achieve. People discuss success, make plans, and describe where they want to go. But very few discuss the most crucial aspect of personal power: what you absolutely refuse to accept. Your strength isn't only in what you chase, but in what you're willing to walk away from. What you choose to leave behind reveals your true value. When you remain in situations that destroy you, when you tolerate ongoing disrespect, when you accept behavior that damages your peace, you silently surrender your power. But when you walk away with calm confidence, everything transforms. You shift the entire dynamic without needing to argue or explain yourself. You demonstrate that you're not afraid to lose anything that doesn't honor your worth. Walking away is widely misunderstood. Many believe that leaving means running away, quitting, or showing weakness. But in reality, walking away is one of the bravest moves anyone can make. It means you respect yourself enough to refuse what damages your mind or heart. It means you understand that your peace matters more than anyone's approval. It means you're strong enough to release situations that keep you small. Walking away isn't losing. It's choosing yourself silently and powerfully. It's saying without words that you know your value, and this environment doesn't match it. Here's something interesting. People notice when you leave. They might ignore your presence, but they will always feel your absence. Your departure becomes a mirror forcing them to examine their own behavior. They start thinking about how they treated you. They begin realizing what they lost. That's why walking away is such a powerful tool. It makes others understand your value without you saying a single word. Walking away also resets your standards. It teaches people how they should treat you moving forward. It sends a clear message that you cannot be controlled through guilt, manipulation, fear, or emotional pressure. You're not afraid to detach from anything misaligned with your growth. Once people understand you're willing to walk away, they treat you with greater respect. They realize you're not someone who will stay in harmful situations just to feel accepted. Here's the deeper truth. The person who can walk away is truly free. You become untouchable because nobody can use fear to control you. Not fear of loneliness, not fear of rejection, not fear of judgment. Once you choose yourself, life begins opening new doors. Better people enter your world. Healthier environments appear. Opportunities matching your worth start flowing toward you. Because when you remove what's wrong, you create space for what's right. The world respects someone who knows when to walk away. Learn to respect yourself in exactly the same way. Fourth principle. People crave what feels out of reach. Human nature is complicated, but one pattern remains constant across every culture and generation. People desire what's difficult to obtain. We value the rare, the mysterious, and the challenging. When something comes too easily, it loses significance in our minds. This explains why people ignore those who offer too much too quickly. This explains why people take for granted the ones who try too hard to be liked. The human brain isn't designed to appreciate what arrives without effort. It's designed to chase, to pursue, and to desire things that require patience or work. When something feels too comfortable, too predictable, or too accessible, our attention naturally fades. This principle becomes extremely powerful once you understand how it shapes behavior. If you want others to value you, you cannot make yourself constantly available. You must create healthy distance. Not coldness, not arrogance, but controlled availability. Your time must be allocated carefully. Your attention shouldn't be something people receive just because they want it. Your energy should be treated like a precious resource, not something anyone can consume whenever they feel like it. When you adjust your accessibility, people adjust how they treat you. The moment you become slightly harder to reach, people begin trying harder. When you stop responding instantly to everything, people start valuing your responses. When you stop giving constant attention, your absence becomes noticeable. When you stop offering everything without limits, people finally appreciate what you provide. This shift happens naturally because scarcity increases perceived value. When something feels rare, people protect it more carefully. When something feels limited, people treasure it more deeply. This principle plays out everywhere. Friendships, romantic relationships, workplace dynamics, family interactions, social media presence, reputation, and business. People pursue what challenges them. They respect what requires effort. They value what isn't freely accessible. That's why leaders who speak less command more respect. That's why individuals who protect their boundaries get treated more carefully. That's why creators who don't beg for attention often gain more followers naturally. But this principle isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about recognizing your own inherent value. It's about understanding that your attention, time, emotions, and presence shouldn't be distributed thoughtlessly. It's about creating a life where you're present but not predictable, caring but not desperate, kind but not endlessly available. You must maintain some mystery, some independence, and some healthy distance. The truth is straightforward. When you stop giving yourself too easily, people finally realize how truly valuable you are. Fifth principle. Confidence flows from emotional detachment. True confidence isn't loud and doesn't need to prove anything. It's not ego trying to show off or appear strong. Real confidence is quiet because it emerges from detachment. Detachment means staying calm regardless of what happens. Staying centered even when someone tries upsetting you. Staying steady even when life becomes uncertain. When you're detached, you don't get easily shaken by words, opinions, or situations. You become someone who cannot be controlled, and that makes you naturally powerful. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about people or life. It doesn't mean becoming cold or emotionless. It simply means you don't cling to anyone or anything so tightly that you lose yourself in the process. You don't panic when things go wrong. You don't chase approval desperately. You don't fear losing people. Instead, you understand that happiness comes from within, not from external sources. This mindset creates calmness. People sense that stability, they feel it immediately and respect it instinctively. Most people react emotionally to everything. Someone says something rude and they explode instantly. Someone ignores them and they feel deeply insecure. Someone gets more attention and they become jealous. But a detached person doesn't react that way. They breathe. They observe carefully. They think clearly, then respond with intention. This ability to choose responses instead of being controlled by emotional impulses is the foundation of confidence. It demonstrates mastery over yourself, and that's more powerful than any loud display of strength. Detachment also protects your inner peace. You don't dive into pointless drama. You don't waste time arguing about nothing. You don't carry other people's problems on your shoulders unnecessarily. You conserve your energy for what truly matters. This makes your presence feel strong and focused. When you enter a room, people sense that you don't need anything from them. That independence is magnetic. People naturally respect someone who isn't desperate for validation. In relationships, detachment removes fear. You don't worry constantly asking yourself, what if they leave me? Instead, you tell yourself calmly that if they leave, it means they weren't meant for you. This simple mental shift gives you freedom. It stops overthinking. It stops insecurity. It removes unnecessary pressure. You become someone who can love deeply while still standing strong alone. That's real emotional strength. In life, detachment gives you control because nothing owns you. Not failure, not success, not opinions, not expectations. You stay balanced, you stay grounded, you stay clear, and a person with a free mind cannot be defeated. Sixth principle, if you want respect, stop justifying yourself. People often lose respect without realizing how it happens. It occurs when they explain too much. When you constantly justify decisions, defend actions, or try making everyone understand your choices, it makes you appear insecure. Over-explaining signals that you're seeking approval, that you're uncertain, or that you're dependent on others' opinions. Secure and confident people rarely feel compelled to over-explain. They say what they mean and stand firm in their choices. That quiet confidence makes their words and presence much stronger. When you explain everything, it weakens your authority. It gives others the impression that they can question you, doubt your judgment, and push your boundaries. But the moment you stop trying to justify yourself constantly, your words gain weight, your decisions feel more solid, your presence becomes more serious. People listen more carefully when you speak because they understand you're not seeking approval or validation. Silence and decisiveness communicate confidence better than endless explanations ever could. There's a simple but crucial truth here. You teach people how to treat you by how much you feel the need to explain yourself. If you always allow others to question your choices, they'll do it repeatedly. If you allow them to challenge your standards, they'll keep challenging them. If you allow them to push your boundaries, they'll continue pushing. Explaining everything gives others control over how they perceive you. But when you stop, you reclaim that control. You take back your power quietly but firmly. You don't need to justify your priorities, your boundaries, your goals, your lifestyle, your silence, your decisions, or your standards. If your actions make sense to you, that's sufficient. If your choices protect your peace, that's sufficient. If what you do supports your growth, that's sufficient. Others are free to think whatever they want, assume whatever they want, or gossip behind your back. But it doesn't change your value or your path. The moment you stop trying to be understood by everyone, something powerful happens. You stop giving away energy to those who don't deserve it. You stop letting people measure your worth based on their opinions. You stop bending yourself to fit expectations that aren't yours. You take back your power silently and confidently, and from that moment forward, the respect you receive becomes genuine. Respect is never earned through explanation. It's earned through self-assurance, clear boundaries, and personal integrity. Seventh principle, pull back to draw them closer. Human relationships follow a simple unspoken rhythm. When you push too hard, people pull away naturally. When you give too much, people take for granted what you offer. When you chase desperately, they run faster. This is natural human psychology. But the opposite is equally true. When you step back even slightly, people notice immediately. They feel the space you create. That absence, that distance captures their attention. They begin stepping forward. They begin trying harder. They begin valuing your presence again. This is the core idea behind this principle. Sometimes pulling back is the fastest way to pull someone closer to you. Pulling back doesn't mean manipulation. It doesn't mean playing games or acting cold. It's about recalibration. It's about restoring balance to the energy exchanged between people. When someone becomes too dependent on your attention, or takes your effort for granted, pulling back resets the dynamic naturally. It creates space for reflection. It gives others room to notice what they may have overlooked. It reminds them that your presence is a choice, not a guarantee. And humans naturally respond to change. When you become slightly less available, people instinctively step up their efforts. There are many ways to pull back without being harsh or rude. You can become less immediately available. You can reply a little slower instead of rushing to respond. You can give slightly less energy while maintaining respect. You can let others initiate conversations or actions. You can embrace silence rather than reacting to every situation. And you can always choose peace over unnecessary reaction. Each of these small adjustments creates a subtle shift that signals value, stability, and self-respect. This principle creates something like gravity. It pulls people toward you rather than pushing them away. It reminds them that your attention and energy aren't endless, they're precious. It increases attraction naturally because people are drawn to what feels meaningful, not what feels guaranteed. When you pull back thoughtfully, your presence regains weight. People no longer take you for granted. They notice the care, the attention, and the balance you bring. However, it's crucial to understand why you pull back. This principle only works when your reasons are healthy, not rooted in anger, ego, or games. You pull back because you respect yourself. You pull back because balance is needed. You pull back because you deserve equal effort. When this intention is clear, the energy between you and others resets naturally. The connection becomes healthier, stronger, and more respectful. That's the true power of pulling back. It draws people closer while keeping your dignity completely intact. Eighth principle. Reverse your emotions to control your life. Understanding human nature isn't only about influencing others. It's also one of the most powerful ways to influence yourself. Your emotions are either your greatest ally or your biggest obstacle. Most people live as if feelings control them entirely. They react instantly to anger, fear, jealousy, or insecurity. They let impatience drive decisions and let worry dictate actions. But when you learn to reverse your emotional reactions, you gain control over your entire life. You stop being a slave to circumstances and start becoming the master of your experience. Instead of responding with anger, you respond with calm. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with curiosity. Instead of giving into insecurity, you respond with self-belief. Instead of succumbing to jealousy, you respond with self-improvement. Instead of letting impatience take over, you respond with discipline. Each reversed reaction rewires your brain, strengthens your character, and makes you less predictable to others. When people cannot anticipate your reactions, they cannot control you. When you act with intention rather than emotion, your presence becomes stronger, steadier, and more respected by everyone around you. Most people spend their energy fighting battles that truly don't matter. They argue over opinions, chase approval desperately, and react to situations beyond their control. But reversing your emotions stops all of that wasteful activity. It allows you to conserve energy for what genuinely matters. When you respond with calm instead of anger, you avoid unnecessary conflict. When you respond with curiosity instead of fear, you turn challenges into opportunities. When you respond with self-belief instead of insecurity, you focus on growth rather than comparison. And when you respond with discipline instead of impatience, you create results that others simply cannot match. Reversing your emotions is a genuine superpower because it changes how you experience life itself. You stop fighting small battles that drain your energy. You stop caring about opinions that don't serve you. You stop chasing validation that doesn't matter. You stop making decisions based on fear, frustration, or impatience. Instead, you live with clarity, confidence, and control. Your actions become deliberate. Your mind becomes unshakable, and your presence becomes magnetic because people sense that you're guided by reason, not reaction. The moment you master your emotional responses, you gain true freedom. Freedom from chaos, freedom from manipulation, and freedom from unnecessary stress. Life no longer pulls you in every direction. You move forward with purpose, confidence, and strength. By reversing your emotions, you don't just survive life. You actually control it. You become someone others notice not because you push aggressively, but because you rise above calmly and intentionally. Ninth principle: give people freedom and they naturally return. One of the most surprising truths about relationships, whether personal, professional, or social, is that control pushes people away. The more you try forcing someone to act a certain way, the more they resist. The more you pressure them to pay attention, behave properly, or meet your expectations, the more they pull back. It's basic human nature. People instinctively move away from restrictions, but the opposite is equally true. When you give people genuine freedom, they feel safe. They feel understood. They feel respected. And when they feel this way, they naturally return to you. Not because they have to, but because they genuinely want to. Freedom isn't about neglect or ignoring people. It's about creating space where they can breathe, think, and act without pressure. It's about letting people have their own time and space. It's about not demanding constant attention or checking on them every moment. It's about accepting that others have their own emotions, decisions, and pace. It's about not forcing them to behave according to your standards or trying to control their thoughts. Freedom means you trust them and give them room to be themselves authentically. When people feel this freedom around you, they relax. Your presence becomes peaceful, not stressful. This principle is one of the most effective tools because it works against the natural expectations people have. Most people expect pressure, rules, and control. When they instead feel patience, trust, and space, they're drawn in naturally. They notice your calm confidence, your understanding, and your maturity. They begin trusting you more deeply. They become loyal not out of obligation, but because they appreciate how you treat them. They stay not because you demand it, but because they feel respected and safe in your presence. The power of giving freedom is that it strengthens relationships in ways control never can. When you let go of the urge to micromanage or manipulate, you create a bond based on respect, not fear. You create a connection that's genuine, peaceful, and lasting. People don't leave when they feel trusted. They don't rebel when they feel respected. And they don't take you for granted when they see that your attention and care are freely given, not forced or demanded. The simple truth is this: people stay where they feel free, understood, and respected. They return to those who create space rather than pressure. They return to those whose presence feels like calm rather than obligation. By giving freedom, you don't lose control. You gain influence, trust, and loyalty naturally. You create relationships that thrive because they're chosen, not coerced. Freedom isn't weakness. It's the strongest form of respect. And it's one of the most powerful principles you can apply. 10th principle: your reaction teaches people how to treat you. People often think respect comes from what they say, but the truth is respect comes from how they react. Words alone have little power if your actions and reactions don't match them. People observe how you respond to situations, how you handle challenges, and how you manage disrespect. If someone treats you poorly and you laugh it off, they see it as permission to repeat the behavior. If someone ignores you and you chase them desperately, they feel even more in control. If someone takes advantage of you and you stay silent, they'll continue knowing there are no consequences. Your reactions are the real signal of your value, and they teach people exactly how to treat you. Learning to control your reactions is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. When someone tries provoking you, you don't have to respond with anger. Anger makes you predictable and gives others control over your emotions. Instead, respond with calm. Calmness communicates strength and self-possession clearly. When someone tests your boundaries, you don't need to react with fear or anxiety. React with clear boundaries instead. Boundaries communicate self-respect, and they show others that you cannot be pushed around. When someone expects a weak reaction, don't give it. Silence is far more powerful than words when used intentionally. Silence communicates control, wisdom, and inner strength unmistakably. Your reactions should always come from a place of confidence, not desperation. When someone underestimates you, your reaction should show composure, not over-explanation. When someone challenges you unfairly, your reaction should show decisiveness, not defensiveness. Every time you respond with self-control, you subtly increase your value in others' eyes. People begin realizing that you cannot be manipulated, ignored, or controlled. They begin respecting your presence, your time, and your energy. They understand that your worth is non-negotiable, and it's reflected not in what you say, but in what you allow to happen around you. The key principle is simple. People treat you based on your reactions, not your words. If you want respect, practice restraint. If you want influence, practice calm. If you want loyalty, practice boundaries. Your life, your relationships, and your environment are shaped by how you respond. Every controlled reaction teaches others that you're strong, confident, and untouchable. By mastering this principle, you don't just defend yourself, you command respect effortlessly, and your value naturally increases with every situation you handle wisely. 11th principle. Let them think they understand you. The final principle is subtle, yet it's one of the most powerful. Most people feel the need to explain themselves, clarify their actions, or correct misunderstandings. They want everyone to fully understand who they are, what they're thinking, and what they plan to do. But the truth is, revealing too much takes away your power. When you stop correcting people's assumptions, you allow them to think they know you. Let them believe they understand your thoughts, your limits, and your next steps. Let them assume they've figured you out completely. Why does this work so effectively? Because when people think they know you, they relax their guard. They stop testing you constantly. They lower their defenses and reveal their true intentions. Their real character begins showing, and you get to observe without interference. You remain in control while others expose themselves naturally. You can act strategically, plan quietly, and evolve while they remain focused on what they believe they already understand. This silent advantage is the essence of true strategic thinking. It allows you to gain insight, influence, and strength without confrontation. Never reveal everything about yourself. Keep certain aspects hidden. Keep your next move private. Keep your goals, your progress, and your personal growth to yourself. Mystery is a form of power. Predictability diminishes it. When people can predict your every move, they can control your environment, manipulate situations, and take advantage of your patterns. But when you remain a little unpredictable, a little mysterious, you stay one step ahead consistently. Your presence becomes intriguing, your actions become impactful, and your growth becomes unstoppable. Let others assume whatever they want. Let them think they understand your decisions, your intentions, and even your limitations. While they form their assumptions, you continue to improve, continue to evolve, and continue to grow in silence. Every day, you move forward while others believe they have you figured out. You stay calm while they speculate. You stay focused while they guess. You stay powerful while they underestimate your potential completely. This principle teaches one fundamental truth. Control is often quiet, subtle, and unseen. You don't need to announce your moves, justify your actions, or reveal your mind to maintain influence. You simply allow people to believe they understand you while you quietly become stronger than they ever imagined possible. Mystery is your shield, assumption is your advantage, and silence is your power. By letting them think they know you, you create a life where growth, strategy, and strength happen naturally, and you always remain ahead. Understanding these principles isn't about manipulation or deceit. It's about understanding human behavior, understanding the natural responses people have, and using that knowledge to create balance and respect in your life. It's about knowing when to give and when to hold back, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to engage and when to walk away. It's about mastering yourself first so that your influence comes naturally rather than being forced. These 11 principles we explored, the laws of need, silence, walking away, scarcity, detachment, boundaries, pulling back, emotional control, freedom, reactions, and mystery, are tools to help you stay strong, calm, and in control. When applied with integrity and wisdom, they don't manipulate others, but instead teach them to treat you with respect, trust, and value. These principles can strengthen relationships, build confidence, and shape a life where you are the center of your own power. Remember this truth. The ultimate goal isn't to play tricks on people. The ultimate goal is to become so strong inside that you no longer need these principles consciously. Your presence alone, your calm, your confidence, and your inner strength become enough. When that happens, influence comes naturally. Respect is automatic, and your life flows with clarity and purpose. That's when you truly understand the deepest power of all, being so complete within yourself that the outside world has no choice but to recognize and honor what you've become.